President Trump said that he wants to pursue massive military budget cuts and arms control agreements with Russia and China.
One of the first meetings I want to have is with President Xi of China, President Putin of Russia, and I want to say, let's cut our military budget in half. And we can do that. And I think we'll be able to do it.
And it's like he says one thing and does the exact opposite. He said this during his first administration as well. You can't say that you want to move toward, cutting nuclear modernization costs, and then also, sort of implicitly supporting your own party's efforts to massively increase the military budget. It's actually counter to your project if you are saying one thing and doing the exact opposite.
He hired all the wrong people if what he wants to do is cut the defense budget. He hired all the wrong people,
But he's very effective at dominating the news cycle with things that are popular.
Not true.
And not true, and letting the exact opposite move forward. So you have a president who is saying he wants to move toward, cutting the nuclear arsenal. He literally says, he's quoted saying, we could blow up the world like 50 times over. Why are we, I don't know if he uses the term overkill, but, he's like, why are we spending all this money on nuclear modernization? And yet his party is pursuing hundreds of billions of dollars of increases in military spending, part of which is to support the nuclear modernization effort, which is mainly justified by China threat inflation, the two-peer nuclear environment. This is all part of the sort of great power competition lens that DC is adopting and that the Trump administration has adopted in many ways.
Sounds like a rivalry peril to me.
I don't think that Americans can even count on the entirety of the Democratic Party to vote against these national security.
That's what I was going to raise. Yeah.
And that's like really striking because like, regardless of your sort of ideological stance, like one would think that the Democratic Party would be against, massive increases to the budget at the cost of sort of social needs. That can't even be said.
The Democrats don't have a very strong ability to actually critique these massive inflations to the defense budget. That would require embracing an anti-war critique of U.S. foreign policy, which they do not fucking do. They can't even call out Trump on his hot lies about arms control and wanting to reduce nukes and reduce defense spending. That would mean they would have to embrace doing those things. If they were the actual standard bearers for arms control, for disarmament, for nuclear reductions, for defense budget cuts, if they owned those issues, they could critique Trump and be like, he's full of shit and here's why. But they can't do that because they support whatever fucking Republicans want to do. They just want to tweak some shit on the margins.
If Trump says that in the press and then, his party pushes through a reconciliation package to add $100-something billion to the military budget in part to do nuclear modernization, I don't think he really cares about anything, but it's so interesting that he would allow sort of like a big news story around him saying, why would we need any more nuclear weapons? And then just let it happen?
Tupac said, they got money for wars but can't feed the poor.
It's funny when it rains it pours. They got money for wars but can't feed the poor.
That was in the fucking early 90s. And it's the same, like, that shit ain't changed. It's the Republican ideology in some ways, but Democrats are like very complicit in it. It's just totally this, we do militarism as foreign policy. And that's the justification for austerity at home. And so if you have a politics that requires austerity at home and tax cuts for the rich, how are you politically going to justify that and sell that? You can only justify that and sell that by doing militarism and then claiming that it's national security and it's a must do, So we geopolitics wash austerity for the rest of us. And we call it national security, and like we have a chat in the Rivalry Peril, not to hawk the book again, but like we have a chapter about how geopolitical competition actually destroys economic democracy. And it hangs on this Tupac insight. I don't quote Tupac, but like it's really that like there is a politics of guns versus butter that has been concocted in American politics. And so by doing the guns, we have opted into a process of starving us of butter. That's the sort of the gist.